Well, I found water in my plug. Maybe that might might be the problem. I've got a see that little transmission module connector down there? It was loose as fuck. and it basically had water in it. So basically I think that's the cause of my check engine light. I had a warning light. I scanned it with my little doohickey-majig over there. I've got an OBD1 and OBD2 fault code scanner. Kind of a handy thing to have if you're at all into mechanical things. So yeah, good times. I'm going to blow the water out and apply a little dielectric grease and clear my fault codes and see if the code comes back. Good times. Yeah, I'm just enjoying my weekend. Oops, sorry about the light. And basically had a good Thanksgiving dinner. And yeah, I'm enjoying a nice 4-day weekend. I'm loving it. And as you can see, yeah, I've still got the Movember thing going. I shaved off my mustache at the beginning of the month, and a razor has not touched my face all month. And people are asking me periodically, "Vention, why do you have whiskers all over your face?" And then it gives me a chance to tell them about Movember and about the cause which I am supporting, which is Vazel gel. I think you guys are all well aware of that. So yeah, having a good day. There is a reason why I'm making this video. I'm not just farting around here. The reason is that I have heard in MGTOW circles for the last few months, you know, there's been some confusion as to why a number of MGTOW have sort of backslid into and appear to be in danger of going back to the plantation, or maybe some of them actually have. A couple of them. Oh well, I'm really bad with names, but we've had a few of them recently, and then some of us are dating, and a few of us supposedly might even be moving in with a woman, which is like a big no-no if you're a MGTOW. I mean, if you cohabitate with a woman, you are not a MGTOW anymore, pal. Sorry. I mean, everybody and his brother seems to be like every so often they say, if you do this, you're not a MGTOW, right? But like if you watch porn or something, you know. But I'm of the opinion that you're a MGTOW as long as you refuse to marry, refuse to give a woman a child, and refuse to cohabitate with a woman. As far as I'm concerned, if you meet those three standards, you are a MGTOW. So basically, a lot of these guys are supposedly backsliding, and there's some question as to why they might be doing that, right? And I am of the opinion that it's like you're vulnerable to backsliding if you have giant voids in your life, and you have basically you don't have anything to do with your life, right? You're For example, when a young man starts out his life, he leaves his house and he's back when guys could get jobs much more readily than they can now. It was a standard procedure for a young man to leave his the family he grew up in and go out and fart around with the world and do training and apprenticeships in some distant place some distant place, and you'd do a little traveling and you'd broaden your horizons, and then you would be then you'd settle down and all that. But nowadays that is not necessarily the case. But I digress. In my opinion, if you have giant voids in your life and giant holes, there's more, you have more life than you have things to do with it, right? That's when you are vulnerable to backsliding, right? But as a young man grows up and grows into his adulthood and everything, he will add things to his life. He will add interests and hobbies and careers and friends and friends of friends and hobbies of friends, and just he'll just add more and more to his life until he is basically he's basically got his life fulfilled. But now, but then, if a young man is starting out, though, when he's very young, he will have big empty spots in his life, and he'll feel lonely, and he'll feel the lack of everything, and he'll just assume that what he is lacking is a woman, right? But and that might be, I mean, he might feel that a woman fills his life and completes his life and stuff like that, but he might not he might discover that that is not exactly the case. Some of these women nowadays, in fact most of them, are so toxic that the moment he pairs off with her, I mean, it'll be great for a couple of years, then the toxicity will just start poisoning him and weakening him, and then he will and then he'll eventually she will of course ass launch him and from his family and steal his house and take the kids and then kick him out the door, and then all of that completeness that he thought the wife was giving to him, it's all ripped out, man. And then boom, he's kicked into the street as just this bleeding husk, and with no family or no friends or anything, no infrastructure to support his life. And man, that's probably why the suicide rate is so high for divorced men. So then but if he can get past the point where a young man would normally get married and do all that shit, then he can add little things here and little things there, and a hobby here and a little addition to his career there. He can do a few things at home that actually improve his career at work, which I have done. And basically then, as time goes by, his life will be full. And then he is very unlikely to do that whole marriage thing at that point. I mean, if I attempted something like that now, my life is so full of all these interests and things that I like to do, and career and house and all of that stuff. A woman showing up here would just be just a catastrophic disruption in my life. And it would just it would just be like pieces of my life would just explode and end up crashing all over the floor. And I'd be struggling to pick up a couple of those pieces, and I'd pick them up and she'd slap them out of my hand, man. Don't hang out with those guys. Those guys are losers. and shit like that, you know. And then I would be able to pick up maybe a few things, but then I would pretty much be co-opted and hauled around, and I would become one of her things. And that's just not the way I want to live. So basically the theory is, I was just thinking about it the other day, is that a young man's life is empty. He's separated from his family, and he's working if he's lucky enough to have a job, and then basically he has this giant void in his life, and at that point he is very vulnerable to having a woman pretty much just walk right in and take over his life, and then build some kind of life, right? And then it's a very good chance that she would then turn around just a few years later, 5, 6 years later, take the kids and kick him out of his own house, and then, man, his life has just been ripped out, man. But if he can avoid that, he can slowly add a piece here and a piece there, a little hobby here, some fun things to do over there, career building here, financial building there, and then he will have a complete life, and he won't be vulnerable to that sort of thing anymore. Because I was like asking myself, what the fuck, man? Why are these guys backsliding? Why is it that they aren't understanding that MGTOW is a better, lower stress, far more stable, vastly more prosperous, hugely more peaceful life, and it's just a better way to live than what they're offering now as far as marriage goes. Now, so that's the theory. I'm not sure if anybody wants to chime in on this to say you're full of crap, Vincent. but I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts. Geez, and there was one other thing I wanted to cover. Geez, what was it? Crap, I can't remember. Couldn't have been too important. Well, I'm going to get back to this transmission fault code problem here. I just changed the oil, and I figured I would address that annoying check engine light. It's been on for several weeks. But it's not a critical fault code. It's just a loss of communication between the transmission and the engine. So I will just get back to this and have a good weekend, my fellow MGTOWs. Don't waste the weekend. Enjoy it like I am. Later.